G'day guys, welcome to another episode of Searching for Adventure. It's Marcus here, and in this episode we're going to talk about the new rig that we've bought, or new car, what I'm driving in now. So it's a Mazda 2019 Mazda BT 50, and I'm going to give a bit of a review on the car itself and a bit of an idea as to why we went ahead and bought this particular car. We had to unfortunately sell our Prado, which I was sad because it's been such a great car, but there is a reason why we had to sell and buy something different. So I'm actually on my way to give the car a wash. I bought the car about 5 weeks ago, and normally I wash my cars every week or every 2 weeks, but anyway, I haven't had time because of the camera's moved. I haven't had time because of work and everything else. So anyway, I'm going to run down, wash the car, and then I'll come home and give a bit of a review on it. So the exciting news is that we've bought a Caravan. So we're super excited about that. And I think it was going out to Birdsville, going out and noticing Caravans and seeing the convenience that they can be. Now, I've never owned a Caravan in my life. Super excited about the van that we've picked out. And I'm not going to go into detail now about what type of, or what van it is, but I will say what type of van it is. It is a fully off-road, this camera keeps moving, a fully off-road van. So we're going to have the opportunity to really get out there and explore Australia and get into all those spots with, that you normally couldn't get to, I guess, with a standard on-road van. So super excited about that. We would have taken delivery of the van already, but because of the coronavirus, the Melbourne manufacturing centre had to close down, which was unfortunate, but we're not complaining because there's a lot of other worse off people, specifically in Victoria, doing it tough. So but they have now since reopened and our van is being built, and this camera keeps moving, a real pain in the bum. Anyway, so hopefully before Christmas we are going to have the Caravan. Is that we've got a couple of epic boys trips as well. This friggin' camera is moving around, and the big trip we've got planned next year is in June, and we're heading to the Simpson Desert. So super excited about the Simpson Desert trip, and far out. And anyway, Simpson Desert, I've been on the edges and the outskirts of the Simpson Desert in South Australia and in Queensland and Northern Territory, but I've never crossed the Simpson Desert. And of course, it's one of those iconic trips that, as a four-wheel driver or someone that's touring Oz, it's a bucket list type of destination. So I've reconnected with an old mate that I used to work with out at Ayers Rock and Alice Springs. It's friggin' camera, and that is Andy. Hope you're watching, Andy. And Andy is the Simpson Desert expert. He's done it about 5,000 times, he tells me. So if we get bogged, it'll be Andy's fault. So that's, really pumped about that trip. So I'm going to have my best mate Mick. He's going to be traveling with me here in the Mazda. Andy has got a couple of people lined up at his end, and we're going to be meeting on the edge of the Simpson in June of next year, and 2 weeks, about a week in the desert, but a 2-week trip. When we get the van, I'll do a review on the van and run you guys through it, but it's going to be a great platform for us to continue this YouTube channel and get out there and explore and get out and see Australia. Now, just on that too, I have had a few friends and a few family members and a few other people ask me what's going on, why have you started a YouTube channel? And it's a pretty simple answer, and that is a hobby. So I've always traveled and I've always documented my travels for decades. That I'm approaching 50, so I can say that now. You know you're getting old when you can say the word decades. So it's probably 3. So probably for 3 decades I've been travelling on my own since I turned 18. And even before the age of 18, I grew up. My mum and dad travelled. We were always holidaying, camping. We were always going away for long weekends. School holidays were, we grew up and lived in Victoria. We were always in Queensland or South Australia or Northern Territory or wherever it was. So very fortunate as a kid to be able to get that travel bug very early, which is what I did. And we were also lucky enough that we had caravans. Mum and dad had many caravans, so I've experienced that caravanning life and so super excited to do it with my family. Alright guys, so without any further ado, whatever that word means, let's get into it. Alright, so yeah, it's a 2019 Mazda BT 50. I was going to say I've never owned a Mazda before, but that's not true. I did own a Mazda very briefly. It was a CX-5, I think, but I didn't own it that long. But I've never owned a four-wheel drive Mazda. I've typically always owned Toyotas, so normally I wouldn't buy a Mazda. But the reason why we bought this is because it was a great deal, and it had all the modifications that we needed, which is going to help us get out on the road and enjoy everything we want to enjoy. It has in terms of bar work, it's got a MAX bull bar and also a 12,000 pound winch down below there, a light bar. I've got a GME, I forget the exact model of the GME UHF radio, but we've got that on there as well. Might go the other side because it's better light. You can see those black decals, so I'm not a fan of the black and white. In fact, I don't think I've ever bought a white car. I'm not a fan of black and white, the combination, but look, it doesn't look too bad. Ellie loves it because she's a Collingwood supporter. However, I'm a Carlton supporter, so it doesn't really suit. My last car was blue. And on the front here, it's got a safari snorkel. So that was all fitted. And these are the clear view mirrors that I was talking about earlier. So I know they are great, but they just do take a little bit of getting used to. But the great thing is when you're towing a van, which we will be, you can slide those out. So then obviously you can see your van. You can get power ones, but I think they're more expensive. But that was already on the vehicle when we bought the car. The other thing that was on the vehicle when we bought the car up the top here were these Rhino rack roof racks here, and also this Rhino rack platform rack that was on the car. While I'm up here, I might just show you. I've put a few extra modifications on the car, and one of those is this 100-watt solar panel, which feeds into the 100 amp lithium dual battery or second battery. So that's pretty much just what's happening up the top here. On the other side there is a Batwing 270 awning. This is the canopy, so it's an ARB brand, which I can't complain because obviously ARB, Australian made and good quality. Well, I think they're Australian made. So this is the canopy. I'll open up the back here. Another great little feature which the previous owner, top bloke, has got gas struts put on the tailgate. And I know you can get these and do them yourself, but if you haven't got them, and this is, well, this is my second dual cab. I have owned a Hilux, but it wasn't decked out for touring or four-wheel driving. But I think if it was me and I didn't have these gas struts, just awesome. In the back here, it's got the ARB drawer system, so it's the full floor with the side wings, and at the moment I've kind of got, well, in this particular side wing I've kind of thrown in the recovery gear and jack and a few bibs and bobs which will live in there, and then this drawer is actually just full of stuff at the moment, so nothing's that organised here in this drawer, but they do come almost all the way out. Pretty good quality too as well. So with these drawer systems, obviously these come out as well. And then on the other side here, I've got my trusty old Ingle 40 litre. So I've had this fridge, 15 years or so, and literally hasn't missed a beat. It's been fantastic. Anyway, another drawer, empty at the moment. So just down here on the left hand side, I've got an Enerdrive ePRO Plus battery monitor, and it's super cool. I haven't got the car in the sun at the moment, but if I did, I can push this button here. It can tell me how many amps is going into the battery from the solar. I've got 100 watt solar on the roof, so typically I get about probably 6-7 amps maximum. But anyway, this is quite handy. It tells me through, I just toggle through here and it tells me my battery's at 94%, and at the moment I've got 46 hours of time. If I was running this fridge, that's all it's running in the back here, and this Ingle probably averages around 1 amp or less. Anyway, down here, another couple of switches. So I've got some work lights, well, not work lights, but sort of kitchen lights, I guess, if you're working off the back of the ute here. These are quite handy. I had these put in myself, so, and you can toggle those around, and they're super bright at night. And then this other switch here, and I had these two things fitted to the car, are two really powerful work lights, and they're kind of located underneath the Rhino rack awning, and they're super bright as well. That's the Rhino rack Batwing Awning that was already on the car. Also around the back here, I'll turn those lights off, but actually you can see, you can watch there, that's the amp drawer. If I turn all those lights on, it's got a minus 2.7 amps. So with all those lights on, my fridge is plugged in and running, but the compressor's not running at the moment. So with all those lights, it's only drawing, 2.7 amps. If I turn that big work light off, these two lamps right here, they're only drawing 0.4 of an amp. If I unplug my fridge, nothing's changed because the fridge compressor's not running. So these, just to give you an idea, these two lights there, just 0.4 of an amp. And that's the great thing about this little battery monitor. I can see there, I can literally run these lights for, what's it saying, 69 hours, 80 hours. So it's just adjusting there until it's flat. Just below these two toggles, two lights, there's another toggle switch for the built-in ARB compressor, which is just tucked in behind here, and then that's the outlet there. And this was in the car when I bought it. See if you can see it there. So it's a twin ARB compressor. Super happy. I've given it a bit of a couple of test runs with these tyres, and it pumps them up really fast. So just in here, if you can see, It's a little bit dark. They've got 2 Anderson plugs. One's going to be for my new fridge, which will give that a better solid connection for those rough roads. And then there's a couple of, so an Anderson plug for the fridge, another Anderson plug for a solar blanket if I need it. Then there are 2 cigarette 12 volt sockets there. In fact, one's a 12 volt and one's got the outlets for the USBs. Then in the back there, I've got the 200 watt Enerdrive inverter. So I had that put in myself. Well, I had the guys at TJM here on the Gold Coast put it in, but didn't come with the car. Rightio, so inside's a pretty standard stock BT50. I think it's the GT model, and a little dirty inside. And so it's pretty standard. I did get one of these little guys fitted. Well, I bought it and did it myself, and that's the iDrive, because I did notice that the throttle, it does lag a little in this car, and so I jumped online and saw that it's quite a popular thing to do. So not too much really to show in here. It does have the leather seats, and so one of the real attractive features of this car when we saw it online on car sales was that it had a GVM and GCM upgrade, because obviously it's very easy to go over on weight, and I think a lot of people don't realise when they're caravanning or touring or whatever it might be, just how little payload a lot of these cars have got, whether it's a Toyota Land Cruiser 200 series or a Prado or whatever it might be. The payloads aren't that high. Now I think that the Mazda BT 50 is around 2100 kilos tare weight, and a standard gross vehicle mass for a Mazda BT 50 I think is 3200 kilos. So this has had the GVM upgrade with the Lovells suspension, and that's brought it up to 3500 kilos, and then it can still tow 3500 kilos. So that's what's important for us with buying the van. Our van's going to weigh about 2.8 tare, so we need that all of that 3.5 tonne towing capacity. So that was a big feature, or big plus when we saw this advertised. The fact that it was only a year old, 18,000 Ks, the guy had spent close to $30,000 on all these modifications, and plus the car was only a year old, and it had that Lovells upgrade. And what's interesting to note, when I started doing some research there on the upgrades, you can only get that GCM upgrade, I think it is, pre-registration, the GVM and GCM pre-registration. So you can't go buy a second-hand car and then all of a sudden go and get a GVM upgrade, and that will include a GCM upgrade, which will include your car and van. So that was really important. So he had that done through Lovells, which is perfect. So we can now have the full 3.5 tonne of car and 3.5 tonne of van. Walk around and show you where the dual battery is. Not dual battery, the second battery, or whatever you want to call it. So it's tucked in behind here, hope you can see it. So the dual, if we can get in here and see it. So it's a 100 amp hour lithium battery, and it's a Century brand, Century with a S, and it's all been fixed in behind here. I think this big Duvalaki, I think that's got something to do with my inverter. I know they had to do a lot of wiring. Down in here, which you can see that there is a Red Arc 25 amp DC to DC charger that'll obviously throw in 25 amps an hour from the alternator. Rightio guys, that's a wrap. Hope you've enjoyed this review of our new or second-hand 2019 Mazda BT50, and also a bit of a rundown of why we've started this YouTube channel and our passion behind it. So I hope that you can get behind us and keep watching our videos. We're going to try and put a video out every fortnight, every 2 weeks. And as I said, we have got a couple of big epic trips planned, and a lot of great smaller trips in between. So if you enjoy our channel, I know we're only new, please subscribe and hit the like button, and we're going to do our best to keep bringing some really good content for you. So hopefully you can join us on our travels and our experiences. So we'll see you in episode 5.